Guys, welcome back to the channel. This week we're traveling from Istanbul to Muscat with Turkish Airlines in business class on their A321Neo. We're also reviewing the new Istanbul Airport, which reminds me of an IKEA store. Keep watching to find out why. And of course we're checking out the Turkish Airlines business class lounge, which has some interesting features. Welcome to the Frequent Business Traveler channel. Here we are at the relatively new Istanbul Airport, which opened back in 2018. In 2023, the Istanbul Airport transported 76 million passengers and it currently holds spot 7 on the list of biggest airports. And the ambition doesn't stop there. They have aggressive expansion plans to extend the capacity to 150 million passengers by 2027 and eventually to 200 million passengers, which is an amazing number. I'm really wondering how they will pull that off, because at the moment the Istanbul Airport is not the most convenient airport to get around. That all has to do with how the terminal is designed and the priority they give to getting revenue from the so-called luxury shops. I mean, how many of these Louis Vuitton, Gucci, Dior, Hugo Boss shops you need in an airport before somebody will say enough is enough? In order to get to the Turkish Airlines business class lounge, you have no other option but to walk that whole stretch along all these shops to finally get to the lounge. It's like an IKEA store. You need to pass every department in order to get to the cabinet you wanted to check out. But at least IKEA does have some shortcuts. Well, no shortcuts in this airport. It's a pity my plane to Muscat leaves from the A gates, which means I will have to walk the same distance back again to my gate. I'm afraid if this airport becomes twice as big, this will become twice as annoying and you will need these self-driving wheelchairs I recently saw at Schiphol Airport to get around. Anyway, by now we reached the lounge, so let's have a quick look. And unfortunately, it's only a quick look. My flight to Istanbul was delayed by more than an hour, and with all the walking you need to do, I only have time to get something to drink. The lounge is pretty big and has different cooking stations, but even though it's big, it's still not easy to find a free spot. I personally prefer a lounge that overlooks the tarmac and allows you to see the planes. But this lounge overlooks all the shops, of course, because that seems to be the priority of the airport. As said, there are plenty of cooking stations where you can grab some food. But in the corner of my eye, I see something else pretty interesting. A little area where you can whack some balls. Now that's pretty cool. I actually was tempted to have a go, but then I reminded myself about the walk to the gate I still had installed and decided to save my energy. Let's start this hike back. There is something else annoying with this airport, and that's the connection to the wireless internet. Apparently you need to get some code at some kiosk somewhere. Why make things so complicated? It's not complicated to buy a Louis Vuitton bag, but to access the free airport internet you need to jump through all sorts of hoops. It's just shocking. But here we are, finally at gate A8. Don't be fooled by the number, because you might think that the number 8 gate isn't that far. However, the gates are only on the right side of the terminal and there are A and B gates. Let's talk about the seat configuration of this A321Neo and stop complaining. There are 5 rows of business class in a 2-2 configuration, and these seats are very familiar, as you will see later. In fact, let's board the plane now. And here we are. And these seats are the same seats as KLM and Delta are using in their premium economy cabin. To see them as business class seats on an A321Neo plane is actually not that bad, considering this is a single aisle plane. And they do feel a bit more luxurious with a leather-like fabric. There's also this little section near the headrest, which gives a little bit of extra privacy. Legroom is very generous. These seats are not lie flat, so I would like to have this configuration on a night flight. But again, for an evening flight of around 5 hours, this is certainly not too bad, and it beats a lot of other A321Neo business class configurations. Today's flight takes us from Istanbul to Muscat, and as you can see on the map, Muscat is a little bit further than Dubai. Crew comes by with a little juice, and before we know it, it's time for takeoff. A menu is handed out, and for the main course I will select the lamb shank. But before we get to the meal, let's check out what the Amenity kit is like. Actually, before I open the Amenity kit, guys, don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you like these kind of videos. It will really help out the channel. Where were we? The Amenity kit. So, we have socks, and a little card stating that the socks, eye mask, earplug and toothbrush are made from recycled plastic bottles. Very good. We continue with the lotion and the eye mask. And we also find some lip balsam, toothpaste and the toothbrush, and there are also earplugs inside. All in all the items you expect. So let's review the meal, starting with the appetizer. And I really like this appetizer, featuring mozzarella, tomato and basil. I'm missing the balsamic vinegar though, to make it a true caprese salad, but that's probably more Italian than Turkish. Main dish with the lamb shank is perfect. I must say, this meal is above expectations and really good. So, time for a conclusion. When I booked this flight, I knew Turkish Airlines used the A321Neo on this route, and thus it wasn't a surprise that you won't get lie flat seats. And for an evening flight of roughly 5 hours, that's also fine, especially since these seats are very comfortable, with a huge amount of legroom. And unlike the Istanbul Airport, there's really nothing to complain about. You get an amenity kit which includes everything you need. The food is a lot better than I expected, and the service is okay. All in all, I really enjoyed this flight, and I can recommend flying Turkish Airlines business class. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so yet. Also, check out my video on my other flight with Turkish Airlines from Amsterdam to Istanbul in a 777-300, where I was completely alone in a business class cabin. Lastly, me being a shrewd negotiator, I managed to get an upgrade of my rental car here in Muscat. Check out this cool SUV. I might try out some sand dunes with this thing. See you next time. Cheers!